Welcome back to the Real Estate Brothers podcast. I'm Bridger Christensen, your host, with
Ethan Christensen,
the other host. And today we want to go over a handful of things. One of these topics that we wanted to talk about really quick, this will be a shorter episode, is the power of one form of marketing that we are going to go over right now.
Yep, it is direct mail. Direct mail is, again, one of the many forms of marketing that you can do in wholesaling real estate. One that we just started doing on a very small budget that we have set just to kind of test run everything that we're starting to ramp up more a lot now. We sent our first batch last August, and we've been doing this for 5 years. We've always heard people talking about it, and we wanted to grow and expand and thought, let's give it a shot and see kind of what we can do. And it's turned out to be one of our best, if not our best, dollar for dollar return that we are getting right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say it's probably our highest grossing marketing channel. Definitely. One of the specific deals we want to talk about, and we'll get into it here in a minute. Before we started our postcard mailing marketing channel, we were very skeptical. And that's probably why we went 4 years without doing it, honestly, because we would hear people talk about, we're doing postcards and this and that. And I remember when we first started, we just thought that was like, I don't know, just this like myth type of marketing.
You also need a lot of money.
Absolutely.
No, maybe not like a lot, but you do need a budget.
Yeah.
It's not certainly not free or cheap, but
no, it absolutely isn't. And I feel like it was a combination of things that kept us from giving it a shot. But finally we're like, let's do it, So we sent out, like Ethan mentioned, we're in July of 24. This would have been August of 23 is when we sent our first batch out. And then we waited a few months, and we just recently, probably over the last 3 or 4 months, probably 4 months, that we've like really started hitting it heavier. And we do marketing in multiple states, and we have like that unicorn deal that you hear people talk about that we want to talk about with you guys today.
So this property was up in Idaho. The list, I believe we pull high equity, we pull absentee owner, we'll do pre-foreclosures. I think this one was just an out-of-state landlord, meaning they owned a property in Idaho, but they themselves lived in a different state. So an out-of-state landlord. They lived in Arkansas. So these people lived in Arkansas. We went on to give you an overview of kind of how we have everything set up. We went on to Batch Leads. Batch Leads is kind of our data hosting platform, and we pulled that list, that out-of-state landlord list, and we sent our mail out through Yellow Letter HQ. There's a few different services, but that's the one that we have been using.
Shout out to Yellow Letter HQ.
Shout out to Yellow Letter HQ. And so we sent out this mail campaign. I think there was probably like 1,000 to maybe 2,000 people on it. It was a pretty niche list. Again, we were kind of doing some test runs and didn't want to go start dumping all this money into it. So sent this out and we got a call back from her saying that she was interested in selling, and it happened. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so
you were the one who answered.
I was going to say, what's interesting about that is I'm sitting at dinner. It's just me, my wife, and our kids. And I swear when you guys start doing this, they always call it a bad time. They never call it a good time. So whenever we get a call, it's, Idaho mailer, we have the number saved. So we know that we're getting a call from a postcard, and we're literally saying a prayer over dinner. And I get this call, and I literally look at my wife, and I literally said, I'm like, you finish this. And then they hung up. And then I was like, I remember telling my wife, I'm like, we pay too much money to not answer these calls. Like, totally. I'm sorry. Like, you say the prayer, whatever. They actually ended up they called, and after a certain amount of time, it just hangs up. So I call her back. So I stepped out, called her back, and she was just ready to sell. So like Ethan mentioned, properties in Idaho, they live in Arkansas, and they were like, hey, we're ready to sell. We're done with this property. and we're ready to go. And they had
Picture
already,
perfect. Like literally, it doesn't get like you get those every once in a while where they're just like, I've been dying to sell this and I got this piece of mail. You know?
I know. And I'm like, when people call, that's the difference between, you know, outbound and inbound marketing. Outbound, it's more of a, almost like a shotgun approach. Like if you're to cold call a list, you know, you could spend days and days and days doing that. But with mail, we send it out and then we wait. And then they come to us after they've, you know, received our mail piece and they're ready to go. So she called, and like Ethan mentioned, picture perfect scenario. She was just ready to sell, and she gave us her price. And I mean, right from the rip, we knew it was going to be a deal. And she had told us that other people had offered like 15 grand lower than that. And we were just like, sure, we'll meet the price you want, like 15 grand more. Cause we knew even then it was just this, you know, that unicorn deal.
So we got the property under contract for $200,000. And again, we knew there was a lot of margin. It was a pretty unique property. One thing that should be standard in everyone's wholesale business, to an extent, is sending out deals to your buyers list as a whole. There are appropriate times when maybe reaching out to like
your A-list.
your A-list, your VIP buyers, like people who've bought from you before, people you're really comfortable with. In very specific scenarios, that is okay. Because this was tenant occupied and it was there was some unique family dynamics and whatnot there. We did not want to blast it out to everybody, and we chose just to reach out to a few very serious buyers in this area. So we reached out to one, and I mean, we ran our analysis, and we were asking 325.
325.
I think 325. And he looked at that and was like, yeah, I can do that. Like, I think that sounds good. I think that makes sense. Like, he could buy it, he could renovate it, flip it and resell it, or keep it, and it would still be a fantastic deal for him. And we scheduled time for him to go and look at it.
Yep.
He went and looked at it, and then eventually did verify that he could pay 325.
Yeah.
Or so, I think. So
that was, I mean, fantastic situation where seller calls us, they're ready to sell. We put it under, literally, from the time she called to the time I put it under contract was less than 5 minutes. Like they were just
gotta
ready.
Be quick. Yep.
Like, and that's absolutely, that's a point that, you know, we should make with you guys is, you know, success loves speed. When sellers are ready to go, you got to be ready to perform. So I literally on the phone, I told her, I'm like, hey, hold on just 1 second. Let me grab my iPad. Let me start filling out this purchase agreement with you. Like, don't say, you know, let me call you back, this, that, and the other. If they're ready to go, just get it done. Because especially when you know that they were talking to other investors, where those other investors, I have no idea why they didn't just come up on price. Cause I think that they were at like 185 or 190 and she wanted 200. And I'm like, why didn't you just say you could do 200?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, that was so dumb of them, dude. Like, I think about like maybe somebody listening to this was that wholesaler or flipper. And I'm like, that was anyways.
You just missed out on $125K assignment.
$125,000 assignment. That was to date our biggest. No, it ended up being 127.
Yeah.
For a few reasons, but I think that's our second biggest assignment to date.
Yep.
And it was all from a 60-cent
piece of mail.
So don't ever underestimate the power of direct mail marketing. Yeah, we've made a lot of money doing it, and we continually do it. And it's kind of cool to see this full circle of, we live in Utah, mm-hmm. sellers are in Arkansas, properties in Idaho. We never, technically we did see it once, mm-hmm. But we didn't need to.
Yeah, it was 2.5 hours away. Yeah, didn't need to, but again, because we knew the margin on it, we were like, we need to, you know, go up and see it. So again, didn't need to. We did get photos and everything, which that's how we traditionally virtually wholesale. Just get photos, get your price, send your buyers over. If you have to renegotiate. that's what we could have done. But we also own an office building up there. And so, and he has family up there as well. So we kind of, I guess, killed 3 birds with 1 stone, went and saw our office building, went to lunch with family, went and saw this property. So,
yeah. And I think the last bit of advice with this, kind of like what Ethan was saying about your buyers and like setting deals out or not, when he agreed within 30 minutes to an hour of our price, we knew we could have got more for it.
Yep.
Right. So we had to live with that, knowing if we're going to go about it this way and just reach out to 1 or 2 serious buyers, we can't, from, I guess, just from a personal standpoint, we can't be like, oh, you can do, 325. Okay, now I'm going to send out to my buyers list at 350. Like we're not like that. And so we stuck with him knowing that we could have sold it and probably made anywhere from 10 to 20 grand more, I would assume. It was a fantastic deal. So if you're going to go about it that way, there's pros and cons of it. Just be aware of that. But ultimately it's up to you guys how you want to dispo a deal.
For sure. To kind of wrap it up here, don't be afraid of new marketing channels. Set any sort of budget that you can, and you got to stick with it. We probably sent out this piece of mail, and then, it could have been, it was weeks before I think she called. Yeah.
I think
it was.
We sent that mail piece that we did that campaign once by the time she called, but it was definitely over a week or 2.
Yeah. So it takes a little bit of time for it to get delivered, printed, made, delivered, them to see it, resonate with it, call. And then again, that was probably like a 3-week close, but anyways, yeah. So have a budget, stick to it. You could send out a campaign of to 50 people, right? Like it could be, you can run really cheap campaigns, but any new marketing channel you do, stick to it. And absolutely direct mail works in 2024. There's no question about it. We're doubling down on it. And I would recommend that everybody do the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.